Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a really tricky question, one that a lot of people wonder about. Why does that initial spark, that attraction, sometimes fade in a marriage or a long-term relationship? We're going to break down one relationship coach's theory on this, walking you through the main arguments from the source. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll set up the problem itself. Then we'll look at why men might lose attraction, according to this theory, and then do the same for women. Finally, we'll see how it all comes together in the end. So, first things first, let's really frame the issue here. What is the fundamental problem this coach is even trying to explain? This is the big question, right? It's something so many couples worry about or experience, that feeling where the spark just isn't what it used to be. And the source material just jumps right in, tackling this sensitive topic from the get-go. Okay, but before we can figure out why attraction fades, we kind of have to know what it is according to this theory. And it's not just about looks. The argument here is that attraction is this whole process. It might start with how someone looks, yeah, but it really grows with that emotional bond. And it's kept alive by how you interact every single day. The source says intimacy in the bedroom is the result of all that, not the starting point.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The theory basically says, hold on, all those common reasons people give, forget them. It's not about age, it's not about putting on a few pounds, it's not about your appearance changing. According to the source, the real reason, well, it's something totally different.
Okay, so if it's not about the usual stuff like looks or age, then what is it? Let's dive into the first half of this theory, why a man's attraction to his wife might start to fade. The source boils this whole complex thing down to just one word. For a man, the theory claims the #1 attraction killer isn't about how his wife looks at all, it's about hers. Attitude. And they don't just call it attitude. The source gives it this really intense name. So let's get into what this kill code actually means and, well, how it gets triggered.
So here's the core idea laid out as a sort of before and after. The theory argues that when you're dating, a woman might be more submissive, more eager to please, which is presented as instinctively attractive to a man, but the kill code gets activated, supposedly, after marriage, when that behavior shifts to being more demanding, more controlling, or more focused on her own pleasure instead of his.
And yeah, the source is pretty blunt about it. I mean, listen to this quote. Calling it an instant kill or kill code really drives home how final this shift in attitude is supposed to be. It's like flipping a switch on his attraction. So to sum up this side of the argument, it's a direct cause and effect. The theory says, when her attitude changes from being pleasing to being demanding, his sexual attraction just drops. When she stops seeing him as this amazing figure and starts trying to control him, he just doesn't want to be intimate anymore. That's the claim. All right, now let's flip this whole thing around. What about when a woman loses attraction for her husband? The source has a totally different theory for that, but you'll see how it's kind of related. So for women, it's not about attitude in the same way. The theory claims the core issue, the absolute deal breaker, is a loss of respect. And this is framed as a really interesting paradox. It's this idea that a woman might actually, without meaning to, destroy the very thing she found attractive in her man in the first place. Let's walk through how this paradox supposedly works. Step 1. She's drawn to this strong, confident, alpha kind of guy. Step 2. Once they're together, she starts to, well, test him, tries to soften him up, get him to do things her way. Step 3, the guy gives in. He wants to make her happy, so he goes along with it. And here's the twist. Step 4, she loses respect for him because he gave in so easily. And finally, step 5, her attraction just dies. It's a real catch-22, according to this theory. So what kind of behaviors are we talking about here? Well, the theory points to a few things, like him constantly giving in to whatever she wants, or becoming too emotional or vulnerable with her, or just generally bending to her will. Even, and this one is interesting, being too interested in her, maybe at the expense of his own goals. Okay, so we have these two separate ideas, one for men, one for women. How do they actually fit together? Let's put it all on one screen and look at the whole picture. And when you lay it all out like this, you can really see the symmetry in the argument. It's all about these very specific gender dynamics. For the man, the attraction killer is her attitude, when she stops being pleasing. For the woman, it's her loss of respect, when he stops being dominant. According to the source, both roads lead to the exact same place. The spark is gone. Which brings us to the final takeaway. I mean, this whole theory hooks attraction directly into some pretty traditional ideas about power and gender roles, right? So it leaves us with a big question. In a world where so many of us are trying to build modern, egalitarian partnerships, where do these ideas fit? Or do they clash completely? It's definitely some food for thought.